Two stories that dominated the headlines this week focused on race and how we talk about it. The ongoing blackface scandal in Virginia and the confession by actor Liam Neeson that he at one point in his life wanted to kill a black man. Sometimes there's a disconnect between what's offensive and why. A filmmaker from Buffalo, New York, has been trying to create an honest and open dialogue about race through his documentary titled The Blackness Project, the name of which came in response to another documentary on race. Jericka Duncan joins us for more on this. Jericka, good morning.
Good morning. The documentary discusses everything from policing black communities to slavery and even systemic racism. The purpose of the film is to encourage people to talk about race-related issues that can at times be uncomfortable.
The barbershop is a gathering place where we gather to talk politics, sports, and yeah, even race.
The Blackness Project doesn't shy away from controversy.
Black people getting killed by white men been going on since the beginning of the time. It seemed like Kaepernick taking a knee is not just offensive to the NFL, you know what I mean? He making a stand against this country, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, what got the matter, baby?
The documentary, filmed in Buffalo, New York, sets out to explore what some black people think it means to be black in America today. The opinions are varied.
I teach my son that he will always have to work 10 times harder.
Every time I come into police contact, it's always a problem, of course.
I hate that victimhood is taught in black culture, like victimhood.
Who was this documentary made for?
The documentary is made for everyone.
37-year-old director and filmmaker Corey Green says he got the idea for the Blackness Project after watching The Whiteness Project, featured on CBS This Morning back in 2014.
21 Caucasians from Buffalo, New York, talk very candidly about their race.
If we're going to talk about black men in general, very beautiful people. So when you smile and you say hello, that's not an invitation to follow me.
I never knew certain white people felt the way they felt. So as I'm watching the interviews, it also educated me, and I said, okay, in order to really elevate this conversation and take it to another level, I have to do a project where people are responding.
Green interviewed more than 30 African Americans from ages 18 to 70, including award-winning Broadway actor Stephen Henderson.
I was probably born colored, and when I went to school, in elementary school, I was probably a Negro.
Henderson, who lives in Buffalo, has appeared in films like Steven Spielberg's Lincoln.
Did they beat you?
I was born a free man. Nobody beat me, except I beat them right back.
And Denzel Washington's Fences.
As long as you got your complaint filed, they can't fire you. That's what one of them white fellas tell me. They weren't about them firing me.
He said he wanted to be a part of the documentary to help facilitate a healing.
We really do have an open wound in this country. Events happen every week, unfortunately every day, that exposes that wound to infection. Healing is a must. We have to make that effort.
You being born in 1949, and when you look back over your life, do you think America is more divided today than we were, say, 20, 30, 40 years ago?
I saw school integration. So there was a divide that was really a line that you could see. There is a divide today, but it's not nearly as right in your face.
Just throw it outside.
In the documentary, Green and producer Pete Johnson traveled to Utah to visit Ancestry.com headquarters to learn about where they came from. What they found, they say, was surprising.
Really a life-changing experience. It helped me look at life differently. If someone was to look at me from the exterior and say, oh, he's an African American, but finding my ancestry, I'm just as European as a lot of people.
When I was first running for mayor,
the city's first African American and current mayor, Byron Brown, is also featured in the film. At one point, he reflects on the time a white man called him a racial slur during his 2005 election campaign.
One of the people at the event said, I never voted for an N-I-G-G-E-R before, but I'm going to vote for you.
Since last year, Green has held over a dozen screenings in Buffalo.
We are one of the most segregated cities in America.
Followed by a diverse panel of community leaders who discuss the film. No topic is off the table.
There's no black people in my church. Where are they? Why don't they come? I'm wondering, what do you think the challenges are specifically for young women and girls of color?
When you watch the Whiteness Project and you watch the Blackness Project, you can see this very clearly, and that the Whiteness Project is clearly very unsophisticated.
Do you feel like people are ever too quick to call out behavior as, oh, you're just being racist?
Absolutely. Everything is not race related. So, you know, if you didn't do something right and, you know, someone corrects it, it doesn't mean it's the color of your skin.
The screenings show how talking honestly about race can be liberating. Green says it's therapeutic for him and his audiences.
All our screening has been predominantly white.
Is that encouraging?
I can't even tell you what it does for me. It gets me emotional, because here are people, maybe they don't understand my story or any other story, but the fact that they want to understand says so much. We're going in the right direction.
Filmmaker Corey Green and producer Pete Johnson plan to screen this film again this spring. And, you know, they really said the most impactful moments for them were people walking away with an understanding that they didn't have before. And I think that's what makes it different, too. We can talk about having a conversation, but they were very intentional about how they put this documentary together.
Sure.
And then they're having these screenings where they're opening it up for dialogue.
It's so interesting that the audiences are predominantly white. That says something right there.
I'm curious, quickly, you said you spoke with the Corey about Liam Neeson.
Right, especially with that being in the news. And I just asked him, knowing that this piece was going to air this weekend, what are your thoughts? And he said, you know, I don't agree with how he did this and what he said, but that's something he's also learned through making this documentary and having these screenings, that you have to be open to hearing people's truths.
Right.
And as hard as it might be to hear, this is how we get to a better place as a society.
With this documentary also. What a great story, Jericka.
Thanks, Jericka.